right, folks, we're off early in the morning. Took off about 6:40, I think, and just heading around the 694 loop, heading south currently, but we'll soon make a left turn and go east on Highway 94 through Wisconsin, and then work our way up along Green Bay to Upper Michigan, and Newberry, Michigan is the destination for the evening. Going to stop en route. I think I need another battery for the starting battery. It just seems a little weak to me. I left the rear-facing camera on last night by accident when I went out to check it this morning and turn it off. It was down to almost 12 volts, I think, or 12.1 maybe. That's pretty low, just running that light, so it makes me think that, and I had some trouble with it starting a couple of times on the last trip, so I think it's just the capacity is way down, so I think I'll replace it. Stop in Walmart in Menominee. That's the current plan this morning. We'll update you as time goes on here. Got a lot of traffic this morning because it's right at rush hour. Until I get going eastbound on 94, I'm in the day's work traffic here. So, all right, we'll talk to you a little bit. Hello, folk. Just coming into Newberry, Upper Michigan here shortly. Kind of the end of the day. I decided that the light was kind of nice here as we're coming into Newberry with all the tree covers, so I thought I'd give you take a look. We're northbound right now on Highway 117, about 2.5 miles before we get to the turn to go into Newberry. It's a long day, 475 miles or thereabouts. Started at 7 o'clock, and of course with Eastern time, it's getting to about 5:30 almost by the time I arrive. We stopped to get a battery en route. I was going to do it in Menominee, I think it was, but I decided to stop in Hudson because I couldn't remember for sure if there was a store in Menominee. Picked up a battery. I just was getting real nervous that the starting battery for the motor was getting too weak. Didn't really think about it for the last month and a half while I was getting ready, but I remember now a couple times I had a hard time getting the motor started because the battery was so low. And I noticed last night it had discharged quicker than I thought it would when I left the rear camera on. Decided to make the move and just go ahead and get a battery. It's the safest thing to do rather than having a problem on the trip. And then we stopped in Marionette for lunch at the Dairy Queen. And now we're coming into Newberry, so hang on, we'll be arriving soon. Just coming up on the turn here now. So about 3 miles or so before we get into town. So. Day's been sunny pretty much all day, but it's hazy as well. There's a kind of a haze, a high overcast, not really an overcast, just a hazy. I think there's smoke coming down from Canada. That looks like 6 miles into Newberry. So I think it's just smoke in the air. I may check later if I can get on the internet and I'll see, but I think that's what it is. Stand by. Arrived at the hotel that I'm staying at. I've been here, I rented, I guess, 3 or 4 times and stayed in the parking lot 3 or 4 times. So I've used this place quite a bit. Just try to stay out of the way of guests. The trip today was about 468 miles and about 10 hours of time counting lunch and the fuel stop. Well, day 2 of the drive up to Temagami started with a bit of a jolt when my alarm clock didn't go off, so I had to hustle to get on the road. Stopped at Sault Ste. Marie en route to get some gas, and then headed right on up to Temagami. I didn't even stop for lunch. Got there mid-afternoon, greeted Gwen, who was in the office as Mike was away. Went back to the boat, got things ready because I decided I needed to launch the same day because it was going to rain in the morning. Wanted to get it in the water. Mike offered a slip for me for overnight, which was very nice of them. And then afterwards in the evening, after we got it launched, which went smoothly, I took them out for dinner as a treat for letting me launch the boat there. After breakfast, I started out pretty rainy start, a lot of moisture coming down. Here's in the background is the slip that I stayed in overnight. And here I'm waving goodbye to the folks on the dock. And in the background is Leisure Island houseboats docks. I'm just entering the main channel to northeast arm of Temagami. And in the background here is a light float plane that is always of interest to me. And then here's the tablets. I have them covered with food wrap to protect them from rain. And my autopilot is in my hand and used anywhere on the boat. Here the wind is picked up. Rain is coming in a little bit more from the side. The covers over the tablets are doing their job. I meet a boater bow on close aboard and wave to him, and then immediately turn into his wake because I can see it's going to be pretty nasty. And I show this clip on what not to do if you're a boater. Be aware of your wake and how it's affecting others. Here's another clip that shows how it should be done and the effect of a wake with another boat that is meeting bow on close aboard. In this case, again, I steer into his wake, and as you can see, after he passes, there's very little impact on my boat. afternoon, folks. Currently about 5:30. I was going to take a nap this afternoon, but I didn't get around to it. I started tackling different problems. For one thing, I discovered that my DJI Mimo app will not work on my phone all of a sudden. It worked as I departed home in White Bear Lake. The phone died due to low battery in Newberry and overnight. As a result, after that time, none of the DJI apps work. It's not just the Mimo app, it's the Go 4 app and the regular Go app. All three apps will not work. I uninstalled and reinstalled each of the apps. None of them will still work. They won't open. They load, there's no warnings, but they will not open. I have no idea what the problem is. I can get the DJI Mimo and probably Go 4 on my tablet. In the kayak, I prefer to use the phone because it's more compact. And also I can't control that particular camera with the Mimo because the Mimo app will not work, and I can't figure that out. One of my issues I'm going to have to do is try to anchor out and get on the internet with Mini. Right now it's not working because there's too much tree cover here. It doesn't like that. I'm not sure why the antenna is so weak. I can get through on my Zoleo. It's a different satellite network, but that works just fine. Even with the cloud cover, tree cover, whatever, it still works. Anyway, long and the short is I tackled that problem and did not come up with a solution, which was disappointing. So I have no answer. The other thing I checked was I had downloaded about 4 movies to watch, so I wouldn't have to do that with over the internet. And I go into my tablet and they're all gone. I mean, I don't see any remnant of them even. I don't know what happened to them. I loaded them. I even tested them at home. They worked fine, but they're gone. So I don't know if there's a time on those and they expire and they just go away. I just don't know. But they're not on my tablet that I'm able to find. I did a search. I did look in every folder where I thought they might be, but they're gone. So, no movies to watch. And I didn't download enough books because I thought I'd have better internet. I don't. I'm going to have to anchor out here and get on the internet and download some more books because I've got some paperbacks I can read, but I need to also figure a solution as to why the DJI apps are not opening on the Ultra 24, the Samsung. So need more books to read. Since I can't watch movies, I can watch movies if I get a good Starlink connection, but it looks like that's going to be difficult considering the typical tree cover you get when you pull into shore. That's the other thing. So tonight for dinner I had shrimp gumbo, some fresh rolls, salad, glass of white wine. This evening I'll probably have, I've got some of these truffles from Sam's Club. They're pretty good for a treat. I've got ice cream too if I wanted it, but it's cool enough today I don't think I'll do ice cream. And I'll probably have a Bailey's and a couple of the truffles for my dessert anyway. And then hit the sack early. I was going to take a nap, but I just got involved with so many fix-its and it was disheartening not to be able to come up with solutions and no real explanation. I mean, I understand why one app will not work. All 3 of the DJI apps will not work unless there was something that was put out by DJI or somebody else that took them down on these phones. I don't know. Dealing with those issues, I sent out a bunch of messages, got a few back, trying to keep people informed on what I'm doing. The wind's still blowing. You can probably see out the window, probably 13 gusts to 15 at least. And it's going to persist overnight and probably into tomorrow. I need to decide whether to move on, try to find another spot, and try to stop en route maybe and try to get an internet connection to see if I can solve some of these issues. Continue to read the ebook that I'm using. I've got one ebook on the phone here that I've been reading for, it's by Chanel Miller, The Rattlesnake Cafe. Pretty good. This is about the 4th or 5th in the series, and I continue to read them. They're a Kindle book. Pretty good. My morning study, I'm reading The Crucifixion of Jesus. I don't know if you can see that. This is by Joseph Bergeron, MD. He does quite a bit of a medical analysis of the crucifixion. So far, it looks pretty good. Good history of that era and what went on and that whole event of the crucifixion. Feel free if you get so inclined. That's a good book to read too. Otherwise, I don't have any other books, no audiobooks open. I finished one on the highway coming up. It was the latest book. It's a series in northern Minnesota. It's good napping weather, sleeping weather, so I'll probably go to hit the sack early, and I've got to decide whether to move on, like I said. Probably I will, because there's really not much of a reason to stay here. And usually what I do is when the weather's bad, that's a good time to move, because you can't do much else anyway. So you might as well be moving. One thing that I did do today that was a little different is I stood inside a fair amount and used my phone navigational app and just kept warm inside and steered the boat using the autopilot remote, and that worked pretty good. So I'll probably do that more in the future. Worked very well, and you can't really do that in tight quarters. At least I would prefer not to, because I like to be at the helm when there's a potential coming up against something hard, or boat traffic that's moving through a confined area, that kind of thing. That's the latest. We'll touch base with you probably tomorrow. I think we're done for today. Talk to you then. Well, good evening, folks. What time is it? It's 5:10. Just finished a pizza dinner with salad and a cold beer. It was really good. It's pouring down rain. I don't know if you can hear it pattering on the roof or not. It's been pouring down for the last 2-3 hours. Yesterday was raining. Today is raining cold, and tomorrow's going to be colder and more rain. So right now we're at 44 degrees outside temperature. So it's pretty brisk. The anchorage I was in, or not anchorage, but the boat site I was at, tied up to yesterday, ended up just being way too exposed to the wind out of the north. It was riding it out okay, and it wasn't crashing on the rocks badly or anything. It was just that I was exposed to a lot of wind. Decided that I couldn't really move to the next planned site because that would require going out into the main axis of the lake, which the wind is lined up with, and so the waves would be pretty good out there, and I decided it was not worth trying to even play with it. So I could have gone and taken a look, but I just felt like it wasn't worth it. So I just moved about a half a mile up into a little anchorage here where I'm more protected from the wind. Also, I've been able to pick up some internet with Starlink. Some of you may not know that I installed a Starlink Mini on the boat before this trip, so I was anxious to try that. I found out several things that you need to know. One thing is it does not like trees, so if you don't have a really clear open area to the north, it's not going to work for you. I get off and on internet where I'm at. I'm about a couple hundred feet from shore, but it's still got too much tree cover close by. It won't pick up good signal. It does occasionally, but it's not consistent. I looked at some video, I downloaded some audiobooks and ebooks. So, I was able to do that kind of a connection. I checked email. It wasn't as good as I expected, but it has been calm here. It's been a good anchorage. But I pretty much spent most of the time in the afternoon working on the internet, trying to get that going, because initially it was disconnecting continually. I finally decided to try, because I was using a 60 watt PD powered delivery, and they would call for 100 with Starlink. Well, 60 powered it okay, but what happens evidently is it's not consistent, and it must be right on the borderline with their parameters, and so occasionally it'll cut out. So I've got an adapter for 100 watts, and that worked. Then I had more consistent signal. Bottom line is you need to pretty much fulfill the parameters that they call for, it looks like. But eventually solved that issue and got some internet going. That was a good part. It's been raining all day, so I'm haven't been hardly out of the boat other than to escape from that other boat site, which was a challenge. It was more challenging than when I went in because of the wind on the side of the boat. It kept blowing it around. I think I was off and on the boat about 3 times trying to balance the power, but the wind was so shifty and gusty, it was really difficult to do. So I just tried to get as close as I could, get rid of the lines that I knew where I could get rid of or untie quickly, or the last one that I needed to hold on to, which was the upwind one. It was really fighting me, and it was making it very difficult, but I did get it reversed out of there under power to make sure I didn't get slammed into some rocks there. It was not a very good spot to go into with what I had for wind yesterday, but I wasn't expecting quite as much increase as there was. And then the other thing was that was in kind of a narrows, and so it was funneling the wind, and just like in a Venturi effect, it was increasing the wind in that narrows, so it actually made it worse. So once I moved out into this anchorage, it's just about a half-mile east. There's no Venturi effect, and I'm at anchor, so the boat can shift around, lie with the wind. It's just been very quiet, peaceful, but cold and wet and rainy. So there's not much to do other than like today I was trying to solve problems. I have other issues too. I can't get my DJI Mimo app to work, which is one thing I use right now. I'm using the Mimo app, but I'm using my tablet. It's not working on my phone, and I cannot get it to work. I can't get my DJI 4 to work on there either, and that's a key application for flying the drone. And I prefer the phone because it's more portable. So I may get stuck using the tablet for both of those apps. But if you're walking around the site, the tablet is a little clumsy to use. I prefer using the phone, but I tried to download the latest APK from DJI, but I couldn't get enough download speed to do it. It just kept failing. I think I tried about 7-8 times and it just wouldn't download. So I need a better position to download that app, and it may be that it just needs to be the software needs to be upgraded. This is a new phone. There may have been an upgrade to the phone August, and that may have kicked it out. I don't know what happened. Thing that's puzzling to me is it worked right up until I got to Upper Michigan and Newberry. It worked. I was using it in the truck, although it failed a couple times en route. So it may have been a problem that started even before that. I don't know. Anyway, long and the short is I'm trying to solve that problem. That I did not accomplish today. That's still in the works. I caught one mouse last night, my first, sure of many. This time of the year you usually get a bunch because they're just looking for a winter nest, and a nice warm cabin like this is just like home. So last night I caught one. My sister touted these peppermint, either liquid or balls you can buy, that are supposed to deter those. They don't like that smell, evidently. Well, evidently up here they don't care, because I had the peppermint ball right next to the traps, and I got one of the mice right there in the trap. So much for the peppermint. I think that was a waste of money. I try everything because mice are a problem in the fall anytime you're up in this neck of the woods. I have 4 traps set. They were set last night. Caught one right off the bat, which I was not surprised. Although with the rain, I thought they might stay home a little bit more, but he was out wandering around. And I don't know, there could be others on the boat, but I haven't seen any. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll try to move, depend a little bit on the wind and what I can expect out there in the open lake. I don't have a long stretch to go there, maybe 3-4 miles, but if the waves are big, it's just not going to be a good deal for me. So we'll see how that goes. Slept about, what did I sleep last night? 10.5 hours. It was ridiculous. I just really slept, so I wasn't even tired enough to take a nap. With this great rain weather, it's a great time to take a nap, but I just didn't feel like it because I was so rested. Didn't even get around to reading an ebook or anything today because I got so busy with the internet trying to get that working, and then downloading some additional books because I had already read one book, and so I was out of audiobooks. I have a couple of other books on board and some ebooks I'm reading, but I wanted to get some more downloaded while I had internet access. This particular spot where I anchored, for some reason, attracted the fishermen because they saw me over here, and before I know it, I had three fishing boats swirling around me here. I never saw anybody catch a fish. I think they just, well, there's a boat over there, that must be where the fish are. So they came over here. Didn't really bother me or anything, but kind of interesting how they were attracted just because I was here. I didn't even step outside when they were around me. Otherwise, that's about it. I don't have any other news. No big bugaboos. I did replace the starting battery on this trip, bought it along the way because I was anticipating that a failure of the other one, and I'm glad I did. I have seen a better charge capability of this new battery. It gives me a little bit more peace of mind that I'm not going to have issues, so that's good. I'll hit the sack early again with all this rain and do some ebooks or audiobooks or something. I've got a movie to finish up. I should finish that up. I started it last night, called Red. Forget the main actors again. It's well-known actors. Pretty good movie if you haven't seen it. I got through halfway and I decided to cut it off and watch the latter half tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good evening.